Hello and welcome to the regular Friday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID, Tottenham Till I Die. Tonight, we've got a great panel for you. We're going to discuss post-match Liverpool game. We're going to be doing a preview of Tamworth, and we'll discuss the latest transfer news and round up on that. So without further ado, I'm not one for long intros. Jim's making his debut on it. How are you, Jim?
Yeah, very good, thanks. Yes. Great to be on. Thanks for having me.
This is actually Jim's link for you. Any of you watching on playback, as we just started, go over there and give the guy, a thumbs up, subscribe to his channel. Yeah. Alan can be found here. Alan, how are you? He's a regular on the show.
Doing well, Adrian. How you doing?
I'm fine. Yeah. So, you can find Alan here. We'll put the links up later as well. I'm not sure, Drew Zilla, I'm not sure you've got a link to a show, have you? If you have, I haven't got it.
No. My link should just be read as somewhere in Middle America.
On a podcast, the Spurs podcast, somewhere on the planet, yeah?
Exactly.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Right, let me just scroll down the banners and we'll get into it. Right. Jim, starting with you, mate. Was you surprised with the lineup? Did you vote? I think most people probably got most of the players that started.
No. I think it's hard to be surprised at the moment because the options are just that limited. I think the big question for a lot of people is, should you start Johnson or Kulusevski on the right wing? That brings the debate of, do you play Kulusevski out of his best position because you believe he adds more to the team on the right wing than Johnson does? Or do you keep Johnson where he is on the right wing and put Kulusevski in his best position in the 10? And I think without Maddison, personally, I think we made the right decision for that game. But you could have put an argument for either. I think we're nitpicking if we think that would have defined the results either way. Things ended up okay in the end, didn't they? So I was pretty unsurprised by the lineup. It was as expected, and we'll get into it later, but just brilliant game. Loved every minute of it.
Yeah, I'll come back on that. Alan, what about a lineup for you?
Yeah, it wasn't too much of a surprise. I think that Dragishin, I didn't think Dragishin was going to be healthy. I just thought that he was still ill. So he was the surprise for me because I was kind of hoping that Alfie Dorrington would have had an opportunity to come into I realize it's an enormous game, but we were running on fumes, and I thought that Dragishin was out. So he was a surprise, and he did very well. We can talk about that later. But yeah, other than Dragishin, pretty much spot on, I think.
I think Dorrington's, I like the player, but I think he's a very, very emergency substitute. 19, had that ACL injury last year. Maybe Ange doesn't fancy him at all, puts him on the bench to make the numbers up. I don't know. Drew, your take on the lineup?
Just to echo what the guys are saying, I guess the only real surprise up until the point where I think we all realised that he was coming in to push Vicario, I think Kinski might have raised some eyebrows, but once you sort of started reading more and hearing more about the transfer, you kind of realised, okay, this guy's probably going to start. But yeah, I would say that would be the only one. But yeah, just mainly because this is about all we've got at the moment, other than Doris the Tea Lady coming in for Bentancur.
Yeah, Jim, I didn't pick Kinski. I picked Austin, but I think I've got the rest of the other 10 players right. But I was part surprised, but perhaps we shouldn't have been, because Ange is very bold with youngsters. I mean, he gave Johnson his debut away to Arsenal. I mean, that is a big call as well, isn't it? So.
Yeah, look, I interviewed Kinski's, one of the Slavia Prague coaches, last week, and
I watched the show. Yeah,
it was a great show.
Thanks. I mean, before that conversation, I was thinking, we'll probably start with Austin. This guy's someone for the future. But after that conversation, I came out feeling incredibly buoyed by the whole idea. And it was when he was talking about his personality, actually off air. He said to me, as soon as I shut down the interview, he said, by the way, this guy's a big step up in Vicario. I'm a huge Premier League fan. I love Vicario. This guy's a big step up. And I was like, why didn't you say that during the interview? People would have loved to hear that. But I asked why. And he said, look, this guy was asked where he goes on holiday by an interviewer the other week. And he said, I'll go on holiday when my playing career is finished. This is time to focus. And I just thought, this is an Ange guy. This is a Postecoglou personality person, as is Vicario. And it's going to be so interesting to see. I think it was Jose Mourinho, sorry to curse on the pod, but I think he said one day you will see a team that plays two goalkeepers in games regularly to change up the game and mix up the game, almost treating one like a quarterback and then one more like an outfield player that pushes forward. And I'm just wondering, might we be one of the first clubs to start doing that? Because we've got a great dilemma here with two fantastic keepers.
Yeah, Alan, I mean, Potts used to switch the fullbacks every other game to give them a rest, didn't he? And we always say, no, play Rosa Walker all the time, but you can't do that in every game, right?
Yeah. There's definitely a drop-off if you play him every game. However, I think that Kinski was amazing against Liverpool. I mean, I said he's as cold as ice. The way he was, you could tell he didn't panic when he had the ball. When he had guys running right at him, he didn't panic. What I loved most of all was his distribution was fantastic. He's not, I guess Ange likes it when we play out from the back. So most often you just see them roll the ball to the nearest defender. Kinski was kicking the ball wide, far, allowing us to counterattack and whatnot. And I think that was a nice change of pace for us. It forced our players to have to play a different style of ball. And I'm wondering if that was Ange. Because I haven't seen an interview where he said anything about changing up his style from just high line to some counterattacking, some other stuff. But it was very nice to see. And it couldn't have happened at a better time.
Yeah, I just want to go through the chat, just as we've got a few in here. Like, big up Queen Ellie. She's not very well. She's a fellow co-founder of this group, and she's ex-Spurs ladies footballer, and she knows her football, definitely knows her football. So we want you back, Ellie. So get well soon with that bug that's going around. David Clark, big up. He's a big Madison fan because he's from Leicester, and he's a regular friend of the show as well. Adam Harris, big up. Yeah. Big up to the listeners, says Drula. Yeah, big up. Graham from Spurs GCTV. Big up, Graham. And get your questions in for the panels, guys. You know, we like to have enough to keep the show going. I'm sure we've got enough anyway, but what's it? Is it Spencer's the best fullback at this club? Debatable. We might only have one. We might only have one fullback. That might be an easy call. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Pete, big up. He's a legend, Peter Kakagas. Every show he goes on, he throws money around, giving out memberships to everyone left, right, and centre. Graham again. Peter again. Yeah, we'll talk about them later, mate. Kingsbury Meyer BAM units keep us so much. Which one? Sepp Meyer?
No, probably Neuer.
Well, Neuer.
Probably Neuer.
Spence, my God, what a player. Yeah, well, we will get into that. Right, so back to the banners. But I'll start here. Before we move on to players individual. Drew.
Yes.
Start 6 minutes, Son shoots, ball diverts to Dragerson, and Alisson makes a good save, you know? And we're thinking, oh, this is a good start. And then, like, knowing our luck, 8 minutes, Bentancur goes down. I mean, I'm right at the top of the east stand next to the south stand.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have a clue what was going on. I assume did you watch it on telly? I mean, I know Jim might have been at the game and you two might not have, obviously, because you're in the States. But
Right. I was actually listening to it at work, as I typically do. That's for my boss. I've usually got one of my earbuds in and I'm listening to it in the background, and I try my best to keep calm whenever we score or concede. So yeah, I mean, you've probably, I don't know if you've got it written down or you've just got a better memory than a guy half your age, but yeah, a minute by minute play, I'll leave to you. But yeah, it was certainly when Bentancur went down, I was thinking the worst, but thankfully I think it just looks worse than it is. And touch wood, it's just a little bit of a very strange fall, and I think he just ended up sort of knocking himself out or just giving himself one on the side of the head. So touch wood, nothing worse than that, and I hope he's home and safe.
Yeah, he's home and safe. And actually, he's been given all the all clear. There's been lots of rumours about the time he's got to be off, but the rules are 6 days minimum but it can be more because you've got to be assessed. You can't put a set time on it, right? You know. And
Right.
Spurs didn't use. An interesting thing, Alan. Spurs didn't use a concussion substitute. Were they worried that Liverpool got better subs than us?
Yep, I was just about to say that we did not use a concussion, but I think do they still say that we have to follow concussion protocols? That he has to be out for a certain amount of time?
It's now not down to the manager; it's down to the club doctor.
Yeah.
The club
Okay.
doctor makes that decision now. And as far as you know, and so if he says no, he comes off. But it was look, we all knew he was going off. He was lying down too long not to come off. And
Oh yeah.
yeah. So did
I
you
think,
actually watch it? I know you. Yeah, go on.
Well,
Go
sorry,
on.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think, I think
watched it.
Postecoglou this morning turned around and said he was out for a couple of weeks. I think it was even a bit longer than the concussion protocol. So I don't know if maybe he's tweaked something in his neck or something.
Well,
but yeah, he
so-
seemed to think it was a couple of weeks.
Well, in 2 weeks' time, we'll have so many players back. We will struggle to pick a side, right?
We'll have another squad. Yeah.
A couple will come
We
back.
should be-
So I'll come back to Tamworth. Will come back later. So you actually saw the incident on telly, Alan? Yeah.
Yeah, very scary because you see him slowly make his way down, and then when he gets to about 3/4 of the way down, he just kind of collapses, and you see him fall weird on his kind of arm went wide, and his head was to the side. It just didn't look good, and apparently he lost consciousness. He must have banged his head against the turf, and then stayed down. But it didn't look good. It kind of reminded me what happened with Ericsson when he went down.
Yeah, I was getting those sorts of vibes.
Did you have a close look, Jim? Because I know you met up with Sean Butler and was at the stadium.
So yeah, I wasn't in my normal seat. I was actually in the east stand. But I was kind of on the opposite part of the east to where it happens, the other side of the pitch. We were all quite confused. We just obviously saw the corner, and he just went down like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah.
We were quite concerned because we were watching. Our last glimpse of him was kind of just seeing him fall, and it looked like the collapse was all one sudden movement. We didn't realize he'd fallen, hit his head, and then gone down. So a lot of us assumed the worst, especially when all those medical teams are coming over and they brought out they bring out this big kind of like blanket thing to cover the player. They didn't put it up in the end, but they brought it up when we thought, oh God, that means CPR. That's really bad. But so we were all we were refreshing our WhatsApp groups and Twitter feeds trying to find out what was going on from everyone else watching on the TV, and it sounds like they didn't give you much either watching from the box. So
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm
scary.
in block. My season ticket's in block 530, and it's right close to the south stand, but you couldn't get much higher, really. You know what I mean? So we couldn't see nothing, but everybody was worried naturally, like So
it was one of those things on TV where they were actually making a point of not showing it. Do you know what I mean? I guess just for obviously youngsters watching and things like that, last thing you want to see is somebody just spark out on the floor. So they were doing that whole scanning the ground and doing the bench thing. So yeah, there was very little of him actually being shown until he was being taken off. So but that seems to be more a thing nowadays, doesn't it?
Yeah.
There's definitely. I think we've got to call out though that Bentancur's his start at Spurs has been so patchy in the last 18 months, and he's made some stupid decisions and made his own bed with a few of those. But he's also been so unlucky. Like that ACL injury he had, then returning and getting an injury straight away and going out for months. Yeah. And then finally then he got his long ban, which was his own fault. He's culpable for that. He's had his punishment, but you think, right, come on, let's start fresh. And then to get, such a freak concussion. Right. I just feel there's an energy following him at Spurs at the moment, which isn't great, and he can't escape it.
Right.
Good evening, Nate. A good friend of the channel, Phil Coyers, another guests on the channel here and there. Phil, mate, I just finished these off. Graham, yeah, right. So there wasn't actually. I mean, for a game that you're watching, it was end-to-end stuff, but it seemed more about huff and puff up and down the field, like and challenges and tackles, and it was about actually for clear-cut chances. There was very few during the game from where I was. I mean, 21 minutes. I get these stats actually off of One Football because I'm not going to remember them all the game because you're excited. And it was all excited as hell.
Keep that close to the chest.
Yeah. So 21 minutes, Solanke had a miscontrolled effort. 23rd minute, Salah ball goes past the post. 30th minute, they made the guy went down. I mean, Wataru came on for Jarrell Quansah. I don't really know much about these Liverpool players. I'm very Spurs centric. I'm trying to find out all I can. Let's bring facts to you guys here.
Quansah went down, and from what I understand, there was really nothing wrong with him. They said he felt sick.
Right. Must be the bug going around. 32 minutes, Basuma got a yellow card for Jota, wasn't it, for a foul on Jota?
Mm-hmm.
You got, yeah. Then Tsimikas put the ball through to McAllister, who just heads it straight at Kinski. He didn't really have much to do there. By this time, we're well through the half. Spurs have had, believe it or not, 55% possession. Though to the eye test, to me, it looked about even. Or you always think that Liverpool have done more than you have, and then first sort of nervy bit about Kinski was when he spilled the ball but gathered it at a second attempt, and he sort of grabbed it, I mean, Jim, everyone said it was an exciting game to watch on the television. It was a very nervy game for me in the stadium. What do you make of the first half? It wasn't actually, I think they hyped up the game a bit better than it actually was,
Look, it's a semi-final, and I think that's what surprised a lot of us so much when we saw that the ground hadn't sold out weeks in advance. It's a semi-final, these don't come along often. We've been actually quite fortunate to be in a lot over the last 8 years. I think we've been in 10 in 8 years or something incredible like that. Some crazy numbers behind the semi-finals. But I think what was really nice about that game and made it feel so big was the whole atmosphere around the game was, we're on our knees squad-wise. Let's be the 12th man. We can do this. We're Tottenham Hotspur. Let's just see what we can do. And everyone got so behind the players. And I think that whole atmosphere has followed from the previous game where obviously Brandon Austin started. And rather than everyone doing this thing of groaning when he gets near the ball in a panic, it was like everyone was just standing on their feet and clapping, trying to give any extra ounce of energy they can to the players on the pitch to support them through this tough period. And that's testament to Postecoglou. I think he's gotten most of the fan base behind him despite this really tough period. And that shined in the game. And the players, look, we can sense the players are running through brick walls for him. And they're happy to do it. And it's the end of a manager typically when they stop doing that and the leaks come out. They're unhappy in training. They're being worked too hard. But with Postecoglou, the players have come out and said, we're behind him. So it's fantastic. And that shone through in the game. And look, I don't know about you guys, but for me, Spurs growing up was, we always had these wonderful talents coming through. We always had young players. And we've got that back, like the Archie Grays, the Lucas Berryvals. Even Pepe Matasar was a really young player. Dragason's a young player. Udogi's a young player. Kulusevski's a young player. It's just so exciting going into every game and seeing them being 5% better than they were the week before. And I'm just loving going through this growth patch with these players and seeing what they can do.
Alan, what about the Scouser in the blue shirt with the whistle? What about him? What was his performance? Because he's certainly got the crowd going, and that can be a good thing sometimes when you get a bad decision, because it really winds the crowd up.
It really was, and he had a couple of bad decisions, I guess. At least, did you guys see it when you were live there? Did you disagree with the first Bergvall yellow, where he didn't even? They showed the slow motion where he doesn't touch Luis Diaz, and he basically dove and doesn't get a card for diving, and then didn't get a card for diving again. The guy could have been red carded, but he didn't call that. But he, go ahead.
I was just going to say to you, imagine if those incidents happened the other way around. No one would be talking about it. It's just because, if the definite booking had happened first and then he had gotten wrongly booked on the second one, if that happened afterwards, everyone would be going, this is outrageous, Spurs have been robbed. It's only because it's the other way around, everyone's got an issue with it. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No, interrupting.
Yeah, on that, Jim, though, I've seen it quite a lot this season. Well, Decky's been virtually pushed, shoved, shouldered, barged into or whatever. goes down, and it happened in this game as well, and it happened to Solanke as well. I mean, like, and nothing's given, you know, and we're all taught that, like, oh, you make a challenge from behind, you get a yellow card. It took a while, you know, for that to happen. I don't think the referee had the greatest control. I think some refs are like, I think they get a bit mesmerised by teams with fantastic pedigrees like Liverpool, you know, and they just like don't like to award things against them. I mean, I don't want to say like he's a bad referee. I just don't think we should have got a few more free kicks in that game, I thought.
Absolutely.
So if you said to a Liverpool fan, okay, then I'll give you a trade. Every decision that's been controversial, that's been between you and Tottenham Hotspur, you can swap the outcome of those decisions right now. Do you want to take it? They would run and say, whoa.
They're not going to give up the handball against Sissoko in the Champions League. And what I posted to other people, they're whinging. All right, you know, it was a second yellow, which we'll come to, right? But at Anfield, when Jota kicked Skip in the head, nothing happened at all. Not a thing. He didn't even get a card. I mean, and we've had, I mean, at Anfield, and we won there about 3 times in the last 5 centuries or something like, you know. I mean, like, the amount of penalties they've had against us there, I mean, it's been unreal as well, you know. I mean, like, so, no, I mean, like, look, what goes around comes around. Like, second half, yeah, I mean, it's 56th minute. I know you didn't see it, Drew, but you might have probably seen the highlights. So I would have sent them to everyone. But Birdville did well to close Allison down, didn't he? And we nearly got a goal from that because he's filled it and like it's just come out. And then Porro's had one bite, and yeah, he should have got it on target. And for his technique, you would expect him to do something with that ball, wouldn't you? You know,
100%.
Yeah, you absolutely would. But again, it shows it. It kind of just shows that, you know, we've gone in at half time. Ange has obviously said what he needed to say, and they've come out. And it's just, I don't know, like, I think I just echo Jim. It's just testament to Ange and what he's able to do. And just, like, I still think the players are winning with him, running through brick walls again. And it's just, especially Berrival, he's just going to become such a good player, I think. He's just such a joy to watch. And I think he's really, really starting to come into his own. And he's just a breath of fresh air just watching him. You know, he's not quite a 6, he's not quite a 10, is he? But he's definitely seems to, I think, be that number 8 that we're so desperately looking for. Yeah, he's wonderful, and I think he was a thorn in their side all night. I think they were so aware that they needed to be aware of him. But yeah, such a good player for such a young head.
Then Alan, in the 68th minute, Burkhardt gets his first yellow card for a challenge on Diaz, which was nothing really. And Salah passed to Nunez at someone Kingston made a save, but it wasn't really much of a save, although he did make 3 decent saves during the game. But in the 71st minute, I mean, I've been very critical of Dragerson, but he cleared that ball off the line. I think it's from Trent. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It was from Trent.
Yeah,
it was a perfect volley too. But for Dragerson standing right where he was standing, that ball goes in the net, and it becomes a very different game with them taking the lead in the 60-something minute or whatever. Would have been huge for them.
And then, like a minute later, Werner comes on from Son, who looked knackered. It wasn't awful, and then we get to the Solanke's offside goal. It was a lovely ball through to him, though, wasn't it? You know, and he's got muscle defenders off him, like they bounce off him, like, you know.
You know, with the way they do the VAR, because I was told that was a historic moment because that's the first time VAR was used in a semifinal. Is that correct?
In this competition, I think, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But they drew the angle, the line at such a strange angle. It just seems, again, I watch American football that we have no problem. In fact, they depend on it to be able to draw that digital line, for depending. And it just seems like VAR is so behind the times with drawing those lines. They come at it it almost seems like random angles. And because when they really zoomed in on it, it looked like Trent played him onside. So I don't know where they were coming from and saying that it was offside, but it did not look offside on television.
I almost feel like the lines on VAR sometimes are like optical illusions. You know, we used to get those things back in the day, and there would be like 2 straight lines and then zigzags, and they would be like, these lines aren't parallel, but they actually were. I feel like VAR's like that sometimes, like the green and the red, and you're like, no, that's not straight, but then actually it probably is. It's very weird, very weird. And I think, can I just ask, because my understanding was, I didn't think that you were allowed to have VAR in the cups because I didn't think every ground was capable of having VAR. So it seems a little strange to me that you get to a certain point in a competition and all of a sudden it's integrated when it wasn't before. Like, I don't know. There seems to like that seems to, I just from an integrity point of view, it seems weird that you would allow that. So, I mean, is that the same? Like, we're not going to have VAR against Tamworth, but if we get to the semi-final, we would against, I don't know, example, Aston Villa. Like, I don't know how that works.
It's because these lower league clubs, they've not got VAR installed in their grounds, have they? I mean, like, it's too expensive for them. So you get to the semi-final of the League Cup, and you're pretty well guaranteed, as I understand, that people, I think it was just brought in at that stage because, you know, you virtually guaranteed you could have VAR.
Wasn't it to trial this announcement, integration to VAR? Wasn't that why it was brought into semi-final? Or is that those two things unrelated? Because I know that was the pilot for announcing the decision.
I haven't even considered that. I mean, as for the announcement, yes, if when you announce something 10 minutes later, when people are excited at the ground following the ball, and you've got magnetic attract what's going on the field, you ain't going to give a crap what's on one of them screens, even though they're the biggest tennis courts are. You're not really going to be. And then, like, it's just why they just don't go with the automated offside. I don't trust the officials.
Right. Yeah, I just and the whole announcement thing, I feel it's a bit like getting a letter through at home and getting a massive bill for your car or something, and then a speaker goes off and just announces that you have to pay the money. Like, it's just so stupid. You've just been told it. Why then a big speaker needs to blare it into my face and tell me again? I'm like, yeah, I know. You've already told me. Right. Why are you rubbing it in? There wasn't much of an especially for offsides. It's like, what more can you explain? Player was offside position. Okay. Why did we waste an extra 2 minutes for you to announce that? Let's just get on with it.
Right.
On Graham's question, is there any updating offside all gone a bit quiet? I just don't think the officials who run this want to let go, release a little bit of power into something that, like, at least if it's automated, you can cheer the goal or not instantly. I mean, still having to wait for a VR decision. I mean, like, it's not football. It's just not even the spirit of the game, in my opinion. So we'll move on to you, Alan. So that goal gets disallowed. Kanati comes on from the McAllister. And then in the 84th minute, Bergvall escapes his second yellow card. How did you see this? It looked awful in the stadium.
It looked awful. It looked bad on TV as well. I mean, it was a definite yellow. I guess we just got lucky. The ref decided maybe he realized the first one was a mistake, and so he let that one go. Or I don't know, but I know it upset a lot of Liverpool fans because of what happens in the next 15 seconds after that yellow card.
Yeah, but as fate would have it, which is unusual for us, the footballing god smiled on us, because in the 86th minute, that was good work by Solanke. Great ball for him. Such good work to come back and just lay it back for Bergvall. And he couldn't have placed it in a harder spot. He had like 3/4 of the goal to aim at, and he squeezes it like about, 3 feet between Alisson and the corner, and bang, it goes in. We're all so pleased for the guy. I mean, like, every time you look at that goal, it just looks brilliant. Like, it's a brilliant goal. Do you have a good view of it, Jim?
Yes, I did actually. It was just I was just sitting above it in the corner. It was, and on the Alisson bit there, I think Bergvall had him kind of rattled all game. That you mentioned that press earlier, where he closed him down, nearly got something off him. I just don't think Alisson could quite believe this guy could keep sprinting at the rates he was and closing him down, and to the intensity that Spurs were putting Alisson under pressure. I don't think he was used to teams coming at Liverpool that aggressively. He was a bit shocked. Teams typically stand off Liverpool and try hunker down to get something, but we stood up tall with our mid block when we were in the final third, and I think he'd got a mental battle won over Alisson Berival, and it was just so sweet to see him, you know, put the final blow down with that goal. It was absolutely beautiful, and you can tell, you know, you can just tell some players have got that natural technique and ability. Berival just has that. And something I think I've noticed over him playing more recently is I didn't quite realize how strong he is and how big he is. Even today, Spurs released some. Yeah,
6'2". So is Archie Gray, 6'2". They're both 6'2".
Big lads, just because they're, you know, young, elegant faces and nice heads of hair. You think, they're not made of tough stuff, but they really are. They really are strong guys. It's great to see. What a future we've got. Those could be our midfield pairing for the next 10 years. And then, so lucky to have those two.
Apparently, footballers from Sweden come with 3 lungs. They just don't want to stop running. So it's great.
Yeah.
And then we had a scare after that. In the 90+4 minute, Kinski did make a good save against Diaz. Like, that was a good save. I mean, like, he pushed one round the puck. I can't remember now because the game's gone so far, so excited. And you have a beer after the game. This is why you have to go and get the stats. Drink too much and forget things that happened. Like. So, and you're going to celebrate when you beat Liverpool. Yeah, so, and that was it. Right, what we'll do now is what we usually do. This is the normal format, but right, and then I'll give you players to talk about. Who wants Kinski? One of you. All right, Jim.
Go on, Jim. You spoke to his coach. Go on, Jim.
Yeah, look, what we were told about him seems to make sense. He's supposedly, well, all the data shows he is excellent when it comes to ball distribution. That's his biggest, you know, attribute on paper. He's a lot more experienced. People give him credit for. People go, oh, he's only, you know, played for one team, Slavia Prague, and he's not played in like a top 5 league. No, he's played in the Europa League and in the Champions League and held his own very well in those leagues. I think it sums up how highly rated he is by Slavia Prague, that the whole club were buzzing when we signed him because they have this feeling of just watch how good he is. We can't wait for him to set the world alight, and we're so proud to just be associated with this guy. There is no point even remotely trying to hold on to him. He's that good. He is a superstar. You're so lucky to get him. And a lot of the Slavia Prague fans were just completely baffled when they signed him about our own fans diving into comment sections and articles on social media saying, oh no, another young kid, blah, blah, blah. They were like, you don't realize how lucky you are. Look, it is one game and he's going to make mistakes. He's not going to play like that every single week. But if he can continue to develop at the trajectory he has over the last 3 years, yeah, we've got a world-class goalkeeper, and we've already got a very good goalkeeper in Vicario. So we've got the best problem you can have with your goalkeepers. Which great goalkeeper do I play next week? So let's see how it goes.
Yeah, Drew. I mean, yeah, with him and although our temporary centre backs have done really well when they've come in. I know we've lost games, and it's the first time we've won a game for a while, but they've performed reasonably well. Dragison's been more questionable. Gray's had over 20 appearances for Spurs now. He's about 22 appearances, and he's never let us down once, has he? He's never let us down once. But I would like to see a progressive centre-back with one of those two if you're going to have to play in there, because it's getting the ball forward. Because, to be fair, Dragison, everybody said he had a better game than I thought he had, but he's not. He needs to improve his passing, but he's only 22. I mean, like, let him settle in with partners, you know. So, I'll give you pick one, and I'll give the other to Porro. Spence.
I'll go with Porro because I think, from what I heard while I was listening to it, I think we can all agree that he's not been on top form this season, but he seems to, in the last couple of games, coming back a little bit into the Porro that we know. I still think he could do with a bit more of a rest. I still think, obviously, you know, having to have Spence back up Udogie on the left side, it doesn't really give Porro the chance to rotate too much because he's supposed to be rotating with Spence. So I don't know. I just hope I hope we don't get the heavy-legged Porro for the rest of the season. I hope, just hoping for the Porro that we all know that can deliver when we need him to.
He made some good firm tackles in that game. Coming back,
He did. And Liverpool was really. I was watching Liverpool's attack. They were doing a lot of attacking down his side, a lot of attacking. So he was doing a lot of running.
Yeah, and Gakpo's no joke on that side this year. I mean, he's been playing really, really well. So, as I say, the bits that I was seeing, it did feel like, I mean, everyone was going on about Spence pretty much had Salah in his pocket all night. I think the same thing, could be said for the most of the night with regards to Porro and Gakpo. I don't remember any outstanding. I don't remember hearing anything, Gakpo this, Gakpo that, he's got Porro on toast. It all seemed to be pretty cool, calm and collected at the back for the most part.
Spence, Alan?
My gosh, Spence. He was up there to me, is one of the guys that could have been man of the match. He did something that very few people have been able to do to Mohamed Salah, which is keep him pretty quiet the whole game. On the left side, not the right, where he's more on the right-hand side. So he had to come over on the left, and he did the job. And he was making awesome link-up passes, and he was doing wrestling for the ball right there on the corner. He's very physical. He seems very calm. And personally, I think he's shown that he should be starting over Udogie, in my opinion, if he's going to stay in that position, if he's willing to stay in that position. He's earned it. Every game he's played, I think he's done very well. And Liverpool was no exception.
I think I would prefer us to get a left back in and let him play on the right, personally. But we'll see how this transfer window goes. I've got good vibes about it. I think we'll get another 3 in, actually. We'll still need to do business in the summer, but right. Let's move on to you, Jim. Dragerson or Gray?
Dragerson or Gray at centre back?
Yeah.
Well,
pick one.
Sorry.
What we need to do is to spread it around. So does everyone don't talk about every player going through the thing. Like what I do is
I can choose one.
You can choose.
Well,
one.
I feel a bit selfish picking Archie Gray because it's Archie
do
Gray.
It, mate.
But,
do it.
I'm going to do it. I'm ruthless. Going to take him. Yeah. I'm going to put my neck out, and you can clip this. Somebody. I think he's going to be the future captain of England one day. Archie Gray. He's got the world at his feet. He was absolutely brilliant. You can tell he's naturally a midfielder just by his technique. We saw him with that beautiful slow motion, montage I think Spurs put together, and there's that clip of him playing out the back with this beautiful outside of his boot pass as well. It's just, the whole thing was just amazing to watch. And I think this period as a centre-back is going to do him so much good when he goes back into his main position in midfield. Could he be that monster 6 we need, that super intelligent player in midfield who could not only snuff out the ball when we're most exposed? We've all seen it endless times this season. We break into the final third, we lose possession, and they just play a direct ball into our third, and we concede at the back post. I think Archie Gray is the midfielder we need to stop that happening. So when we can get another centre back, we push him forward into midfield and we say, your job is stop those balls, pick it up, and quickly get it forwards again. So we're back on the front foot. And I think he's going to be that guy. So I'm so excited.
And look, last season he played, I think, 30 games at Leeds at a necessity at right back.
Yeah.
Played as number 10 about in 3 games. He played in midfield. When they played Chelsea in the Cup, he bossed the midfield. He bossed it. And so, I mean, like, I have no questions. I mean, I was with a lot of fans when we brought these young kids. Okay, we put one oven-ready player in sort of Solanke. And I'm thinking, what I've seen of Gray, I've seen him in Championship. I thought, yeah, the kid's going to be a star. But when they come, you think, are they oven ready? Well, they aren't oven ready, but they've just shown they are now oven ready. It's took half a season, but now they've shown it. And the frightening thing is we know they've got higher ceilings. You can see Gray and Bergvall getting man of the match performances. You can just see it. You know, they've got stardust scattered on them, like, So, yeah, I mean, yeah, really, really, really pleased we've got them. makes its question later if everyone's still here and you've all got time to discuss the transfer window in Tamworth and all that. Makes you wonder if we really need to bring in a 6 and all that, because we've got 7 midfield players if you include Kulu, who's going to be Mr. Versatile. You only got 110 in Madison. The other 5, people say they're all 8s. The other 5, Saar, Basuma, Bentancur. You'd have Graham Bergvall, wouldn't you? So that's 7. I mean, I've always thought the midfielder most under threat, maybe not in January because we've got to keep all the bodies together. We had so many injuries. I think the biggest midfielder under threat is Basuma at the moment, but so
yeah.
I mean, if he can keep playing like he did against United and sort of, put in performances like this and just be better than he has been, I think he'll be all right. I mean, people have been talking about possibly Douglas Luiz coming in, and I can't. There's no way we're getting Douglas Luiz unless you're getting rid of Basuma or Bentancur. But that's another conversation.
Another one, because Juventus will come to the rumours later. All these rumours about Miani, they've signed him. No, they haven't got no money, and they've even offered. They've offered Luiz, I think, for a taste at Spurs. The rumour is right, so they need money, right? Yeah, Dragerson, Drew.
I gave him a little bit of a hard time the last couple of weeks, and I feel a little bit bad because I know he was ill. But there's still something about Dragerson that's not quite, I think, where it should be. I think he's getting better. I think I do have to remind myself that he's only 22 because he looks like he's about 35. So, he's being asked to play in a different position, really, to what he was at Genoa. So I can't fault the guy. There's that one play where he blocked a shot off the line and then followed up because I think the ball ricocheted out and somebody took a pot shot and he threw himself at it to make sure that it wasn't going to go in. And you know what? When I see things like that, that's all I can ask for from somebody wearing the shirt is to throw his body on the line and give everything he can. And I think, the kid's doing that. And I think if we can, rather than him being thrown in at the deep end, I think, once Kuti and or VDV come back and he can kind of, be rotated a little bit more, I think we'll start to see the best of him over the next couple of seasons. But I'm not going to give him too much of a hard time. I think from what I heard and from what I saw, he didn't do too bad.
Yeah, and I think, these players, he's got to be judged at the end of the season when he's got at least, back in the day, if a player had one good season, you judged him after his second season, not after his second game like they do it. Yeah, so no, he's good in here. He's pacey. Just want to see him improve on his passing, because even when Gray kept giving it back to him or whatever, you're thinking what's he going to do? Because a lot of times he chips the ball forward and it's percentage then whether we get it or the opposition ends up with the ball. But no, he's definitely with the blocks and the tackling, he's very good at closing down. With young centre backs, it's positional play, isn't it? And intelligent awareness, Yeah. We'll move on to you, Alan. Pick one.
I'll take. I guess I'll take the Bentancur because he was pretty much on and off. Up to that point, he was fine. So unfortunate. I'm really glad that he's okay. And I think Jim said it very well. He's just very unlucky. So other than that, he wasn't on the pitch long enough to really make much of a difference.
I've made a mistake here, actually, because he went off. That should have been Bergvall. So,
right.
My mistake, right? After the show, I'm going to give myself a big talking to, right? Lots of finger pointing in the mirror, right? Here we go. Sorry.
Okay, I'll take...
Kulu moved into the middle then, and Johnson came on the right wing. So, go on.
I'll take Kulu. Kulu, I don't think he looked tired. Let's be fair to these guys. They've been having to make up for so many people that are injured or suspended that they're tired guys. They're playing a lot of soccer, football. They're playing a lot of football, and I sometimes have to remind myself, these guys have to travel all over the place. We're playing in Europe, we're playing on, in England. We go up? We went to the Ibrox, right, at Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're all over the place, so they don't get a lot of time to rest. And we're asking a lot of these guys. So I think Kulu, it was one of those games. It was an off game for Kulu. He's allowed, to me, it doesn't change how I feel about him. He's allowed an off game. It's unfortunate that the off game came playing against Liverpool in this semifinal, but hopefully he did enough to start in the second leg and maybe can do a better job. I'm hoping he gets a little bit of rest, though. He probably needs to be on the bench just for maybe a game, give him a chance to relax, and I think he'll come back stronger.
He's still trying to make a couple of gut-busting runs, but the legs just weren't having it, in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
But you can't fault his effort. He just tries non-stop. He would stand and collapse on the pitch, I think, rather than go off,
Totally.
Jim, pick one. You got Basuma or Bergvall?
I'll go for Biss. I'll be more generous. Yeah, I think Biss he reminds me. We've had it. We always seem to get this with our defensive midfielders. We buy them. We had it with Scott Parker. We had it with Palacios. We had it with Wanyama. They would always pick up a yellow card in the first 45 minutes every game. Always be like, oh no, and you just be like, here comes the red. When's it going to be? But I thought Biss was so controlled after that yellow. It's almost like he's like, look, I'm going to be a bit of a silly boy. I'm going to until I get my yellow, and then I'm going to tone it down. And he didn't tone it down. He just got just upped his game to a level where he just wasn't making mistakes. And I felt Basuma this season, even though he hasn't always been great, I've always felt he's made an effort. Can never say he's not tried to work his way back into the team this season. And I thought he had a really good. I thought he had a good game. And look, maybe he's playing for his contract extension because it expires in 18 months, right? So I think Spurs have got this crossroads end of the season. Do you sell a 28-year-old with 12 months left in their contract, or do you give him an extra 3 years? Let's see. It's. I think if we want to keep forward,
there are a couple of decisions, Jim, don't they? Because to me, Romero's down to 2 years in summer, and if he doesn't sign, sell him. You can always letting players run down contract. Years ago, you could be tactical and think, oh, Real Madrid or Barcelona are in for our players, right? But 2 years on his contract, no, we're going to keep him, knowing full well that if them big clubs are desperate, they'll get someone in and they won't come in from the next season. So, but that's a dangerous game to play, really trying to do that, right? But, So, Drew, you get Bergvall.
I mean, I'm already starting to run out of superlatives for him. I mean, I just think, I hope the stars align. I just wish him all the luck in the world as a footballer. I hope nothing bad happens to him. I don't necessarily want to wrap him in cotton wool, but there's just so much potential there. And I guess my concern now, and it'll be, I'd love to see how Angie's going to do this, right? Because I think we can all agree that they've probably, even though it's been a baptism by fire, Bergvall and Gray have been so good. What does he do now? And this is great. It's great for us, and it's great for the competition. But I don't want to see them stutter now. Now that I've seen them, I'm actually quite happy. It's nice that we've got players coming back, but I don't necessarily want to see them moved out of the team right away. Like, I think if it's a meritocracy, it'd be quite nice to see them sort of, at least get. No, I mean, I don't expect them to get as many minutes, but I would still like to see them in a very, 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 decent rotation with the rest of the squad. But yeah, Bergvall, I mean, I could watch that kid play all day. The finish was immaculate. He knew he knew exactly where he was going to put it. It almost looked from the angle that I saw it at that it started on the outside of the post and kind of curled its way in. And just, I don't know, he knew it was going in. I think we all knew it was going in. He's class. Lucas Skywalker.
Let's all talk about him because I like the player as well, right? So, Alan, what I particularly like about him, although he's sort of like patrolling numbers like a hybrid 6'8", progressing the ball as well. He was always looking. I mean, Bentancur at his best is better as an 8 driving forward, as far as I'm concerned. Right? It's not a 6, but it's just his progressive with the ball and his passing, and like he's got a nice half turn on him to lose a player as well and twist, you know, and I'm not going to compare him with best player England ever produced, Glenn Hoddle, but like he's got that Hoddle long pass in him, right? Obviously, he's got you can't bandy that about too much, but he's got that long pass about him as well. He just seems to have the complete skill set. 6'2", good in the air, can stick his foot in. Should have been sent off, you know.
He runs a lot too. He runs a lot, and he's not afraid to put in a good tackle. I think that's what distinguishes him from the other midfielders is Bergvall throws himself into those tackles. It's not like a little half-hearted slide for fear of hurting themselves. He throws himself into those tackles, which is why they look sometimes worse than they are. Yeah, he could be the complete package. I mean, and we need someone like that. You know, we've been missing like the Musa Dembele type midfielder. You know, we really need someone like that. Bergvall could be that guy.
Jim Bergvall.
Yeah, look, he's every classmate's worst nightmare. Can you imagine being at school with someone like him and rocking up in your Vauxhall Corsa, and you've got that guy sat next to you on playing Premier League football at that level at his age. But no, seriously, look, I think I echo what Alan said there. Like he could be that kind of box to box type midfielder we so desperately need. He's strong, he can score, he can tackle, he's physical. He truly is a complete midfielder. I think he's everything that Arsenal were almost looking for. When they signed like Jorginho and Havertz, they were kind of looking for some, you know, very technically gifted player who could be physical and play in multiple positions. And I think we've signed someone infinitely better in Bergvall, and he has certainly benefited from this injury crisis. I think without the injury crisis, he would have probably be, you know, he's making his first start against Tamworth. Let's see how he gets on, or whatever it is. Look, I think he's bullied his way into that first team, and I think he's arguably should be starting moving forward and be one of the first names on the team sheet.
Well, Gray would have been drip fed into the team last season if we didn't have so many injuries, and this season it's got worse. And Johnson, I mean last season, and Gray this season wouldn't have made these 20 odd appearances now if we hadn't had the injury. So you can take some positives through an awful injury crisis, which is worse than last year. So Drew, where are we? Pick one, look at the rest. Sorry, wrong banner.
Same ones. There we go.
It's Friday and I haven't had a drink yet. I'll have one after the show.
I'll tell you what, we'll go with I'll go with Son, because I don't really have much to say about him. Unfortunately, the poor guy, I don't know. I'm actually working on something at the moment because you know, obviously there's the thing going around about Son and Salah, and they're practically the same age, and look what Salah's doing compared to look what Sonny's doing. And I think if you look at the last 4 or 5 years, I think Sonny has maybe played somewhere between 30 or 40 more international games than Salah. And I don't know whether there's something in that obviously the traveling, like a flight to Egypt is only about 4.5 hours. A flight to South Korea is 14 hours, something like that. I don't know. As I say, I'm crunching some numbers at the moment. I don't know if there's going to be anything in it, or whether it's just the fact that he's going through a real hard time and he's having a real hard time getting back to what he was.
He's got 5 goals and 6 assists and about 17 appearances. They're not bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's
the eye test,
certainly not awful.
He doesn't look Sonny, does he, on the eye test?
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's not awful, but yeah, exactly. You've just summed it up there. From the eye test, he's just not looking like Sonny at the moment. And I don't know. It looks like he could do. This is the thing, right? You say, it looks like he could do with a couple of weeks off, but we're talking about, you know, elite football. That couple of weeks off puts him out of match fitness and then you've got to come back to match fitness. Do you know what I mean? So there's like this perpetual cycle of.
There is also another factor which I don't think people are taking into consideration. It may be relevant or irrelevant. The fact that he had surgery last year, right? I don't think his body has fully got that. Plus, he has been overplayed. At 32, he should be playing every other game, shouldn't he? And he's still the best finisher at the club with both feet. I mean, I'm glad he's got the extension, because if he smashes it, he'll get another year, won't he? I mean, there's no way he's going to go to another club at his age, because he loves the club. He'll end up with an ambassador role or something like that. You know what I mean? So, it is. Fans are quickly to jump on Hero after they have one or two bad games, which I find disappointing. But his stats are mental. He's got something like overall at club about 400 and 20 odd games maybe now, and like 90 assists, right, and about 170 odd goals. 170 goals. I mean, like, it's no. I mean, he'll always be a hero to me. If this is a downward decline and that is it, and we've seen the last of him, thanks for your service. I hope you get the ambassador role, and that'll be it. I don't think we've seen it though. I don't think he's done. He may have lost the afterburners, but he's not slow. I mean, when you go back and you look at the West Ham game, when Sarr put him free inside our halfway line, about 2 yards in their opponent's half, he ran on, bambled the defenders, juggled the ball one side, the other side, smashed it in the net. And then you look at the Everton game when he was playing catch up with VDV when he made that big long run, but he still stayed with VDV and got the ball. So he's not slow. I mean, and he scored, didn't he, a tight angle goal. So I don't think he's gone, but look, when results go poorly and you're looking at your team, suddenly the team's crap, the subs are rubbish, and why were the 5 players left out of the match day squad not included? When you're winning, team's great, the stock of the substitutes rises, right? Look at the players we couldn't even include in the squad. That's the way it goes. That's what football is, isn't it? The agony and the ecstasy. Right.
I've got to jump, Adrian, but just to say thank you so much for having me on. Great show.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Alan and Drew, lovely to chat to you guys. I do recognise you from social media, we've chatted.
Sean's on Tuesday with doing a financial thing with me and Ian. It'll be just us three, and I've got a show Sunday, obviously. So all our shows are Tuesday, Friday, Sunday at 8:00. So when you guys are available, you're always welcome. So it's just a question if you're busy or not. So
I'll see you at the ground for a beer next time as well.
Yeah. We'll meet up with Shawnee and all that. I've met him before at the ground and lots of others, Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah.
And cheers,
next
Alan. Cheers, Drew.
Right. Nice one, Jim. Great
to see you, man.
Guys. Lovely to see you.
Jim.
All the best. Up the Spurs, guys.
You're insightful. Great stuff.
Cheers. Up the Spurs.
The Spurs, definitely, mate. Definitely. Right. So we got Solanke and Johnson. Who wants one of these?
I'll take Johnson. I think, to start, it was unfortunate the circumstances that required him to come on. But I think he was cold, as in his form when he came on. He grew it. Seeing it on TV, it looked like he grew into the game. Because in the second half, I think he did better than in the first half. Liverpool played a very physical game, and I don't think Brendan Johnson is the strongest player. And we've seen it in other games against Newcastle, Aston Villa. He can be bullied. And he almost becomes timid. And I think that's something he's got to work on. Maybe he has to hit the gym a little harder or something to kind of build up, a bit more physicality. But other than that, I mean, he did okay, didn't he? He had a shot on goal, didn't he? It didn't go. It obviously didn't go in, but I think he had a shot on goal.
I mean, it's kind of arguably the least you expect from your £50 million winger, right? / striker or whatever the kind of quite is.
Yeah.
But I tell you, with Johnson, I've been his biggest backer up to a point, but I completely understand. Like the kid unfortunately needs to do more. But I think he's running on empty, and regardless of what some people may or may not think of tiredness, I think the kid's gassed. I think he's 23 years old, and I think he's played more football over the last 18 months than he was supposed to because of the injuries that we've had to our squad. And I think he's another one that is just, the last 4 or 5 weeks, the only thing different after a game is that we've lost another player and the players have had 90 more minutes put in their legs. So it's just, it just seems to be one thing, it's just one game after another. And the kid looks like he doesn't have any stamina left, and he's having to very much pick and choose when he presses, when he doesn't press. And it's not ideal. And especially the eye test makes it look awful. But I mean, I still think he shows some good moments, He's still putting goals away, still one of the highest scorers. He put in a couple of tackles from what I saw on the highlights.
Yeah,
he was getting back and trying. So again, I can't criticize. I can criticize to an extent, but I can't criticize too much. He's giving everything he can at the moment. If he was switching in and out with Odegaard every 60 or 70 minutes, then I think you'd see a different Johnson.
Do you think? Do you think? See, I've got a theory. It might be relevant. It might not. Because Ange likes to play with two wide wingers that hug the touchline. Do you think he's told to stay there to keep opposing defenders busy? Because someone's got to keep an eye on him. But, I mean, and then in certain games, like we know are going to be really hard, like Liverpool, the best team in the league at the moment on paper, he was coming back to sort of help out. I mean, and told to do that. I just wonder if that's an adaptation for certain games, because I'm pretty sure that Ange would like his wingers to really stay out there, because you're really stretching a team. And it does, and you all see the defenders look around. They're always looking around to see where our wingers are, right? Yeah. And I'm thinking, well, if you're keeping them back by standing there, but to a lot of fans, they look at it and think, oh, he's not helping out. But, sometimes as a player, you can make a dummy run to let your striker be slipped in, and people won't know it's the player that does the dummy run, to look to draw.
I guess, I mean, the one thing I would say is if and he may well, there's that old cliche: stay out wide, get chalk on your boots. Do you know what I mean? Make the pitch as wide as possible. And I completely get that. And there's a couple, even on the, there's a clip going around of the Bergvall goal, and it shows it from one end of the stadium, and it shows it from the start to finish, Kinski to Porro. And there's one particular angle where Porro's got it, and you see him scanning the field, and he's obviously looking at Solanke, but you don't see Solanke in the shot because the shot is showing him and then Brendan Johnson right on the touchline, right on the sideline. And Brendan Johnson is looking at Porro, waiting for that ball to go so that he can make the run. And I understand if you're going to do that and you're going to keep him out there, and Ange is saying, you stay out there, don't worry about coming too far back because I want you out there as the outlet. That's all well and good, but I don't know that Porro is a strong enough right back for us to be able to do that constantly. Because if you're going to leave Porro one-on-one, as I mentioned earlier, he's been getting better the last couple of games, but as an isolated right back, he's still, I think, there's still questions. So if you're going to ask Brendan Johnson to stay out wide and do those runs, I don't know. I think you're probably better off having Spence as the right back because he's the better of the two when it comes to defending. But I don't know, Adrian. It could well be a tactic. It could well be that he just doesn't have the lungs to do it all the time, and he's kind of picking and choosing. But he wouldn't be playing as much as he's playing if Ange didn't appreciate what he was doing for the team. Everyone says he's hopeless, he's useless, he can't do anything. Ange would not be picking him if he couldn't do anything.
I wasn't a fan. I didn't want him at the club. I go and watch videos of players. Some players you sort of take a shine to, others you don't so much. But, he's more than doubled his goal tally. 11 goals from a wide player is like 1 in 4 was always considered a good strike rate, and he's sort of past that. And we're only halfway through the season. The finish against Coventry when he was getting dogs abuse through social media, was a
good ice cold
chip.
Ice cold.
He's also
I'm with Peter in the chat. He says, I can't believe at this level players can't cross the ball. And I have to agree. Like, it's unbelievable that of all the things that he can do, he can't ping a ball into the box, on a consistent basis.
Yeah, and he showed composure this year as well, like in goals. And
you got to give him that.
People sneer and then say, because I was very critical of him, I'm not now. I'm going to say tapping merchant, but you've also got to have that striker's instinctive awareness to make your run, get in the box. Even when Werner's putting balls in, it looks like he smashed him in. Look, it's more than a tap-in when you've done that run and you've got in position to score the goal. Right? He has got an instinct, and he is actually a good finisher. And I go back, what puzzled me at first, when Ange gave him his debut away to Arsenal, that is some call for a kid. He was 21 then, I think. And, he had a couple of half chances in that game, actually. And I thought, that's a big call. What have you seen in training that I haven't? What videos that I haven't? Right. But, again, Alan, let's go on let's move on to Solanke, who I knew very little about when he came to this club, I've got to be honest.
Yeah, Solanke. So he I think he did very well. I think other than he made it. Well, first let's talk about the goal that was called back. It was a great goal. He shot it very well. I watched some rival channels, and even they said that the Solanke goal was class, though they all thought it was offside. But his work rate, the guy works so much, and it's unsung kind of stuff. He helps with the link up play, and he's jumping, and he's very physical, and he's just all over the pitch. He really is. He drops pretty deep for a center. More I think than Harry Kane used to. He drops very deep. And overall, I mean, he's the perfect guy for Ange's system, I think. I didn't think he would be that way, right? When we were talking center forwards, I was thinking maybe a Jonathan David or a, what's his name from Brentford. I didn't think that it would be Solanke, but Solanke has been phenomenal for us. And I'm looking forward to, I would like to get him some other competition because I think he still hasn't hit his ceiling.
Well, that's interesting because we've had a lot of fans say we don't get enough crosses in the box, and I get that. And I would like to see more crosses just because if defenders don't clear them properly, you can put something in the mix and something could happen by a defensive error.
Yeah.
But I struggle with the other bit. Yeah, he's good with his head, gets goals with his head and all right. But in something like 151 Premier League appearances.
So he scored 4, hasn't he?
6.
Oh, right.
6 goals, 6-headed goals. That doesn't mean a Sarah and Sid crosses put in the box. You can cause chaos by putting a cross in a box, Someone can stick a foot out own goal, or it could deflect in the air, fall to one of your players, I mean, we don't. It seems to me that players are frightened to have like a ball given away on their stats, like that I had this, I think they're more, So with Solanke, very impressed, suits the system. Yeah, so, right, let's move on to, let's talk about some transfers. For Premier League clubs, low market rules, you're allowed 6 loans, a maximum of 4 foreign players, and a maximum of 2 homegrown, right? For those that don't know. I've trimmed down the transfer rumours to ones which are more credible, although quite a few haven't quite gained gravitas. I mean, here we have Tarek Mitchell, left back 23. He's out of contract at Palace. Dorg, who everyone should know about. I like this player. I really like him, but we'll see. I'm not sure whether we'll go for it. Fratesi and Douglas Luiz are interested in now. We've got these rumours about Muani, and now you always get it in the media, don't you? 1 minute you're interested, you're closing on a deal, you've agreed terms with player, and then they'll throw oh, Barcelona are in for him and Real Madrid were in for him, and they've agreed deals and they're players and all that. Well, if you believe the media, you'd think it was a 2-horse race from Miani, who would come to later. But Fratesi and Douglas Luiz are at Juventus. Douglas Luiz is not getting any game time. Fratesi hasn't got much game time. I would take either of them, but I'm not sure that with Bergvall, I'm not sure we next need. And Juventus in for Moani. Well, look, let's be clear for those that don't know of all the rumours. Juventus are sort of skint. They've offered us Fratesi and Douglas Luiz, as rumours would have it, because they obviously need the money to finance any other deals, right? And if I was Spurs, I'd stay away from these two players. If we're really in for Moani, and if Levy and Langs are really flown out there, and it must be true because they went economy class, right? So, I'm always reading between the lines with these. I mean, most fans have probably got the right idea, believe it when they're holding the shirt up, But Faglioli, 23, another good player. Thomas Christensen, is he at Lens? No. Forget. Tomori, he was at Chelsea, wasn't he? Good defender.
AC Milan, right?
Yeah. Do you like any of these, Drew?
You know what? I wouldn't be against Tyrick Mitchell because he can cross the ball and he's half decent. He also helps with home quota. Dorgu, I'm not sure about. I know he does left back and right wing, and I don't know if I don't quite know what you are, and I don't know that necessarily. I've been bigging up the kids. I think it's great, but I think maybe we need to, in this window, potentially just start looking just at maybe something in the just something with a little bit more experience. So I don't know. I'm not sure on Dorgu, and I'm more than happy to be corrected if people say he's an absolute baller and you absolutely have to have him. Then I'd take him. Fratesi, I'm not sure about. There's a player that I like who is at PSV called Olivier Buscagli, and he's a French player. He's left-footed, left-sided centre-back that can also play a 6. He's played about 180 times for them, and I think he's quite interesting. And I think he's in the last year of his contract. And that's always something that
Henko's there, isn't Henko at PSV, or is it Feyenoord? Feyenoord, I think. No, I think it's at Feyenoord.
I think it's Feyenoord, and because wasn't he on a slot?
And he can play left back and centre back as well. But
yeah, I mean, there's lots of players out there. I tell you, the Douglas Luiz thing, I'm not too sure about because I think, and people will say, Drew, you're an absolute idiot. What you're talking about? But I genuinely believe if you've got Bissouma, Bentancur, and then Archie Gray once he's relieved of centre back duties. I mean, I just don't know. I don't know where you play. I think he blocks. I don't think he conforms to the way Tottenham want to do business when it comes to players. So I just don't see it myself.
Alan, I mean, I put Tyrick Mitchell in here as last resort because we've got another band of things on because these other players are all playing in Italy. They smell of Paratici to me.
Yeah, Dorgu, I've seen videos of Dorgu. He looks very good. I know you're very jazzed on him. And he can be left back. We need a left back. I mean, we really do. Do we want to force Jed Spence over to the left? Or do we bring someone in? I don't know. I just know we need to spend money this transfer window, and it's funny they say that it could be up to 4 players, which seems out of this world, right? In the winter transfer window.
I'll tell you what, just my 2 cents. It's nice to have 2 left backs and 2 right backs, and have 2 left footers and 2 right footers. But I think one of the reasons. I mean, other than the fact that I think he's a fantastic player, I think Sean started calling him Jedley King, which I think is fantastic. But I think one of the reasons that maybe he was able to pocket Salah so well is because Salah likes to come in. He's constantly cutting in. I mean, it's not very often you see him go to the byline and put a cross in. Not that he's not capable of doing it, but I think that helped Spence. because I think Spence was able to read it, and Spence being a right footer and him cutting in, I think that kind of works as opposed to having to show Spence onto his left. So I don't know if there's anything in that or not. But I think it's good to mix it up. You know, even if we did have a left back, it might just be that tactically somebody with a right foot on the left side actually works in certain scenarios. You know,
I'll give you my example on that. When we lost our first game at the stadium to West Ham of all teams, Toby Alderweireld had to play at left centre back because Vertonghen was injured. Now, you're right-footed. Now, what I liked about them pair, Vertonghen and Alderweireld, they both had to play at full-back for Belgium because you had Vincent Kompany and someone else in there. So they were used to dealing with wingers, which was good because some centre-backs could get turned inside out by a winger. And I'm sure Salah's done it many a time. But I'm with you on what you're saying about that, because when Antonian come in to score the goal, he cut across Alderweireld and slipped it in the corner, right? And I couldn't help thinking, I was saying in the bar after the game, I do wonder, I said, if we'd have had a left footer there who leads with his left foot instead of your right, your body shape's a bit better going into the player, right? Yep. And it might have been preventable, might not have been. But this is why I want a left-footed centre-back in the left position. You know, I know most teams have to play right-footed because of the scarcity, but no, I want a left-footed centre-back to play on that side. I mean, the thing with young Dorrington is he prefers his right foot, but he's quite comfortable when you see him on the under-21s before he had the injury. Good game, good on the ball. Phillips is definitely right-footed, you know.
Yeah. Well, you make a good point there about your leading foot, because I mean, if you're left-footed going across and you lead with your left, as opposed to being right-footed and leading with your right but going left, I mean, that's the difference. I mean, you're probably only talking maybe a couple of feet, but that's the difference between getting your foot to a block or not getting your foot to a block, right? You know, we're dealing in inches sometimes with this game. So, yeah, very interesting. But yeah, I'm with you. I would like that balance, because when you do have the left-sided centre-back with the left foot and the right side with the right foot, they don't have to pivot onto their different foot to make the angles, right? So I'm doing a dance here, but
no. I mean, even at right centre-back, when Romero's been there. Now, I don't know if it's a question of trust or doubt in his mind, but when he progresses the ball and actually moves forward with it, because he's our best centre-back at doing that, it appears to me, I might be wrong statistically, it appears to me that he either passes the ball directly forward or he passes it to the left. It doesn't go out too much to Johnson on the right or where Porro is. That's just, I would need to watch it more, but with all the injuries and all that, I haven't had a chance to, obviously, you know. And I'm thinking, well, is there something in this? Have you got something against passing it out there, you know? So
I just think it's more the angle of the body, right? Because I think you have to kind of open yourself up more to the right side to get it. If you're playing it with your right, like it's almost easier as a right-sided centre-back. If you want to play a ball out to wide right, you almost want to play it with your left foot. Do you know what I mean? Because you want to be able to, because you could be more square to the pitch and you can use your left foot to bend it out. Whereas being right-footed on the right side, you almost have to 45 to 90 degree your body to get the angle of your right foot to bend it round to make sure it stays in. So, yeah, I mean, it's all, you know, it's all very interesting. I like to get into the nuances of the game like that. But big up the chat, listening to my I don't know, half decent conversation.
Yeah, no, it's good points. I like getting different. I like getting fans' insights. You know, where am I going on? This is wrong. Right, okay, right. These players are all in France. We're leaving Lang, not supposed to be. I'll come to you, Alan. Right, the Cardozo one is interesting. I don't know if there's a rush for it anyway. And what I've seen in Graham Bergvall, I mean, this guy obviously. The Lo Celso deal to Sevilla, we got this weird, only Levy could do a deal like this. If they sell him, we get a percentage of it anyway, because it's part of the Lo Celso deal there. Or we can buy 25 million euros in the sum, which is about 21 million, which isn't a fortune by today's standards. That's a weird one. Muani, we've had all the rumours about Muami. Yeah, he's coming. Yeah, he's agreed terms, and he's agreed terms with Juventus and all that. And I don't believe that. I think we're still well in for him. we wouldn't hang about this long in the window if we ain't got a chance of getting him, in my opinion, especially if we want to get other deals done. But what's also come up now, because Miani and Skriniar are at PSG, apparently we're after both of them. And Skriniar
Yeah, I heard about that too.
Yeah. Skriniar would be a good addition. I don't care if he's 30 or nearly 30, because like he hasn't getting game time there, so we want to get out. And at his age, I think if we want him, we'll get him. I think other clubs will probably go for someone who's a bit more younger, but we've got enough youth at the centre back level, so we don't have to do that. I mean, have you guys? You're on the other side of the water, and Cardoso isn't international. Have you?
He's good.
Yeah,
he's actually very good. I've watched him now. I've watched some videos of him. He plays for the U.S. national team. He's a very good center defensive midfielder. He's a good CDM. And I think he's a player where at 22, I don't think he's hit his ceiling yet. So he's still got growing to go, but we're going to be seeing more of him wherever he winds up because he's that good.
Drew, you've seen him? I've watched the video of him. He's a brave player, very energetic. Technically, he's good. He's not one of those players that looks sexy, but I mean...
No, I think he's more of a a metronome, as I call him. Just keeps things kind of ticking over at that base, that midfield. I just cannot see, unless it's an opportunity that is too good to turn down. I can't see us getting a midfielder in this window. I mean, we've got Bissouma, Bentancur, Gray, Saab, Bedival, Maddison, and Kulu that can all do jobs at certain points in there. And unless one or two of those are going out, I just don't see anybody in that position coming in. I just don't see where the math works.
No.
Unless we get him on the cheap and we can sell him for more than we bought him for.
Well,
Right, yeah.
That deal's supposed to be in the summer. Whether there's the same deal applies now, I don't know. But I mean, it's obviously we're really after a striker, and the reason the Miani thing, the rumours about the Miani thing, he might not. That's why Jonathan David's picked up an impress again, because if we were to sign Miani, obviously David goes out the window, doesn't he? You just forget him. But that's just, I think
the rumours are that you go for Miani, and because David's a free agent, I mean, there have been rumours that potentially we go for both. I mean, it might not be right now, but it might be that you can get Miani now and you get David to sign a free contract to come in the summer. Now that, as it's coming out of my mouth, doesn't sound like anything that a Tottenham Hotspur football team would do. But you never know. That's coming from a couple of reputable sources that say don't rule it out. And I don't know. Until what's the old the saying? Until they're actually holding up the shirt. Like, I don't believe anything that anybody says. But I don't know. The one thing I would say about Miani is he's on a lot of money, and if he comes to Spurs, given Spurs' quite strict wage structure, whether you like it or not, it's there. You can have an opinion about it, but Spurs have a wage structure. Is it going to put some noses out of joint, getting somebody in on that wage and basically have them coming in as a top earner right away? Now, you could, as I say, you can argue the fundamentals and the whether that's right or wrong, and whether Tottenham do this right or wrong. But I mean, it's something to consider, I think. And I don't know. I don't know how well that works.
If he was on over 200 grand, I mean, I heard something today, 264 grand. He might be at PSG. The Sheikh's worth billions, right?
Right.
So owns the club. But if he was, you could get round that, because you could say to the player, look, our ceiling's 180 grand a week. You're on a 5-year contract, but we'll give you a £5 million signing on fee. So I think you could get round it, and then the other player, he's on the fees. He's on, no more money than you, son. You know what I mean, or whatever, or Werner for that, and his playmate at Lille, Angel Gomez, has naturally got linked again because he's in the last year of his contract. Was a Man United player, went there, didn't he? Yeah, he's a good footballer. I mean, he played for England. He got a couple of games. He's got a nice long pass on him. He's technically a very good footballer. I'm like you though. I'm going out and spending money when you don't have to, and you wait till the summer. And look, and let's be fair, there's no shortage of midfielders out there. Every club seems to be overstocked with midfielders. You know, so
right.
Yeah, so.
Well, and also as well, as I say, I don't like with these names. I mean, I don't know whether I'm reading the room wrong, but I certainly feel that recently the general consensus has been that maybe we need a couple of people to come in, and those people need to have a little bit more experience. I know I keep saying that word, but I think even Ange mentioned it, because I was a little bit critical of Ange, because he turned around at the beginning of the season and said he didn't want older players. He wanted youngster players that he could nurture and kind of mould. And older players were a bit kind of set in their ways, and he could do less with them. And now all of a sudden he wants some experience. But I mean, that's another conversation. It is what it is. But I would think, I don't know, Kolo Muani, Angel Gomez, Jonathan David. I hear the names, and the picture in my head isn't of a player that is gonna bleed for the club, get their hands together, clap in the middle of the pit, and G players up when we're 1-0 down. Like they don't, and I feel like we need somebody. People say that Roy Keane-esque player. I don't think that player exists anymore. I think it's been bred out of the game. But somebody that is just gonna, put their foot up somebody's arse if they misplace a couple of passes and say, "Hey, come on, let's get your act together."
You might get that out of Fratesi and Louise,
right?
Even Cardoso, actually. You put a shift.
I mean,
in
maybe. You just don't see much of that anymore, do you? It's not something that's coached into players.
I mean, with the 7 midfielders, if you're including Decky, let's take Decky out with the 6. I mean, unless, I think, like I said earlier, I think the player most in danger of going, we've got to see if they're consistent in the second half of the season. But
Basuma.
But Basuma's everyone's first pick. Maddison does off you something extra, and when he's on song, he is sort of unstoppable. Maddison in space is a dangerous player, isn't he? But I mean, we're entitled to critique him when he ain't when he's not on point. Out of these, I mean, I would take Muani and Skriniar, because Muani's about the striker available out there. We're not going to get that young centre back Kuzanov because at Lens, because looks like Man City are going to give 30 mil for him at 20, and I think we need to spend our money elsewhere. I think our priority first is a striker. It is, because you can't run Solanke into the ground. I like Will Yankshire, and he is a future star, but he's got time on his side. So I would take Marnie, and Marmouche at Frankfurt last year, I watched him. He's a fast player. Mido said Eric's Egyptian player. Sign him. He's the next seller. And it looks like there's a lot of interest in him. So I just think, and like with Muani,
Marmouche.
Omar Mamouche, and with PSG,
he's the Frankfurt player, right? And he going to City.
Yeah, and with Skriniar and Muani, I think PSG they don't mind if you pay in 2026, because what clubs are doing now, it's what in the southern France where Højbjerg went, Marseille, they're not paying for him until this season. They'd spent their allocated money under FFP, so he went sort of on loan, and I think, well, a loan to buy option would be music to Daniel Levy's ears, but a loan with an obligation to buy, I think most clubs are going to bristle, even if they're in for someone like Muani, because come on, you smashed it in Germany, but I don't know what system PSG were playing, how many games he got, whether he's just been overlooked because someone shone and kept their place over him or whatever. So I don't know. I mean, here's a Ricks. I like the loan to buy signings, because then if you end up with a Werner, you just get rid of him.
Right.
So,
I mean, the one thing I will say, I know there's been reports that Richarlison's been working really, really hard in the background, and apparently has impressed Ange to the point where Ange is maybe not so keen to just get rid straight away. I mean, if you can, and this is the problem, that you can't guarantee his fitness, but if you could get the Richarlison that we had in that little purple patch last year, where he got, what is it, 9 in 10 or 10 in 11? If you could get something like that in the second part of the season with him, then I'm with you, Adrian. I don't know that there's any need to necessarily go out and get Muani just on the basis, especially if it's an obligation. It is one thing if it's an option. But I would be more inclined, I don't know, I'd be more inclined to looking closer to home. Like in terms of, instead of going for Skriniar, I just think 30 years old. I don't necessarily think it doesn't seem like that's what the club would do. I'd go for Armel Bella-Kotchap. I'd go for Armel Bella-Kotchap at Southampton. Left-sided, only got 18 months left on his contract, not being used. I'd
go and get that young kid who played well against us, Tyrell, whatever his name is. I forget his name. But
Tyreek Mitchell. Yeah, because they're Premier League proven as well to a certain extent.
No, not him. The player looked good. Had a couple of long shots against at Southampton. The young kid. Tyrell. I can't remember his name. Someone in the chat will come up with his name. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something to be said about the whole Premier League thing, right? Like the last thing you need, like if we're in desperate need of backup for Solanke and or Richarlison, and then you bring in someone like, example, Muani, and he flatters to deceive, or it takes him, 10 games to get going, and he scores a couple of goals, and you're kind of left wondering, well, you don't know at that point. That's why I guess an 18-month option would be great, because if you give him 6 months to bed in, at least you get an idea of what he's going to do in that first 6 months.
Yeah.
Because, I'm of the mind, if you're going to spend that much money, or you're going to at least spend that much money on his wages, I'd be half tempted at that point, put in a cheeky bid for Brian Mbeumo. I mean, he's been touted as supposed to be going to Arsenal. He's only got 18 months left on his contract. Well, Arsenal apparently can't spend any money. So why aren't we doing that sort of deal? I mean, I think he's only 25, 26. So that's within the club's remit when it comes to, sell-on fee and things like that. You put him on a 3-4 year contract and he's still worth 40, 50 million at the end of it. So I don't know. That's when I sometimes question Spurs. It's like, it's all well and good going out and looking at these players, but sometimes look a little bit closer to home. Do the things to the lower clubs that Manchester United used to do to us. The Carricks, the Berbatovs. Well, that used to be how the league worked, right? The very top took from the middle took from the bottom. Like, I don't know why we don't do that anymore.
Yeah. Alan, I mean, I wouldn't mind taking Skriniar on loan, not to buy, just a loan, and we split the wages with PSG. The centre-back is a complex issue, right? Ange was very coy. He didn't mention Davis. Davis might be fit. We don't know that, right? He didn't say he wasn't fit out of all those.
Yeah.
Why didn't you mention Davis? I just kept thinking to myself, right? So he might be fit. But then, you've got Gray can do a job there, Dragerson. When they're fit, VDV and Romero, right? That's 5. Then you've got Dorrington, Phillips, who don't want to block the path to, and Vasquez, who Dorrington, Phillips are huge talents, but Vasquez better than them. He's better than me, in my opinion. He might not be as fast as them, but he looks an absolute baller for a centre back.
He does look a beast for 17 years old. He's another one like Dragerson. He looks like he's about 30
we don't
years
really
old.
need to buy. When we link with these other centre backs, young ones as well, Kuzanov and all that, I think, well, in a couple of weeks,
right,
VDV and Romero are back.
Right.
If you'd put Phillips off loan, he'd be sitting on bench for the rest of the season. Well, that's no good for his development. You got to keep. You got, when you're going through hell, keep going. You got, make your way through this storm, this perfect storm, which has been worse than last season. And they obviously must think about that. If we've been offered Skriniar and we say, well, we'll take him for a year to the end of the season, that's handy, right?
Yeah.
His experience, that would be good cover, but I don't see us buying him because I don't see us wanting even if Davis comes back. I mean, all right, unless you're going to let him go at the end of the season or give him a year extension because his contract.
Especially with, like you say, you've got VDV and Romero coming back. Davis might be fit. So all of a sudden, that's all 3 centre-backs come back. So that's your 4. Plus, Archie Gray has just proven that he's more than capable of being a centre-back deputy. So that means really, come the second week of February, you could be sitting there with 5 centre-backs, 5 potential centre-backs anyway.
And at the same time, you don't want to trip yourself up with future injuries and leave yourself short. So, I mean, that's what it is.
Apparently, this football thing's easy, right? Apparently,
Well, didn't
would lose their 4 centre-backs and number 1 goalkeeper, right? And we're still in 3 cup competitions, So, I mean, it's hard. I mean,
didn't Milan Skriniar win with Inter? Didn't he win trophies at Inter?
I know he was voted like best defender there in the year we were looking after him and all that as well.
Let me have a look.
He is a very good defender, experienced.
Yeah, experience. And see, that's the name of the game. I think someone like a Milan Skriniar would be wonderful as an influence on even people like Romero and Van de Ven. Van de Ven's very young. Romero has won things.
Yeah.
But even still, he's still not that old. Where he couldn't. He's still young enough to still learn. And Archie Gray for sure could learn from him. We need that for our youth. We need more players at his age and his level of experience and success. I think
you have a valid point, Alan. I think you just inadvertently called me out, and I'm a hypocrite because earlier on I was saying we need experience, and then I said we don't need Skriniar. So absolutely right.
What further?
I guess
further
he's a Serie A winner, Serie A 2021, Coppa Italia, Super Coppa Italia, and a Europa League and Champions League runner-up. So I mean he's been around the block.
All right, Scott.
Yeah.
And of course, let me throw this into the mix with the centre-back confusion, right? You could take Skriniar with a loan to buy because we don't know if we're selling Romero in the summer. If he's down to 2 years and he won't sign a new contract, sell him. Don't mess about. I mean, I love the player, don't get me wrong, but sell him. I think he's our best centre-back by a mile. Others disagree with me because VDV looks sexy because he's got pace, right? Don't get me wrong, I like VDV as well. But I mean, Romero is our quarterback. He progresses the ball, so our other centre-backs are not very good at that yet. They may become better at it. Hopefully they do, so that's another option. So if it wasn't, Levy's not going to be tugged into an obligation to buy Skriniar, but we would take him on loan. If he's not playing and he's on $300,000 a week at PSG or more, we could pay half or a third of his wages and take him, give you a loan fee on top, and take him for the season with an option to buy at a fixed price in case Romero goes. Because centre-backs can play to the 35, 36. You've had Thiago and all them other old centre-backs playing at Chelsea and Man United, and he would give you and that would be the experience you've got for Dorrington and Phillips. Because I think Vasquez will come straight into this squad in the summer. He's not... Thing with us, what catch-22, his old man should have jumped on his missus earlier because, like, February 24th is 18. We need him to be 18 now. Sorry if that sounded sexist or racist. I'm just being
funny,
facetious, right? Yeah. So, it's just I'd love to be able to bring him in now. Yeah. And then the other thing that really complicates the whole transfer window is if we're bringing in foreign players, who are we leaving out? Because we're too short anyway, because we haven't got 4 academy-trained players that have been with the club for 3 years. So as we can have the 25-man squad, in Europe, we're too short. We're 2 European players short. So, like, who do you leave out the squad,
Can you not...
That's a shame we left out Spence.
If he's English, Tamari's English. But he's 27, so
he's not club trained though, does he? Or this is where I get confused.
No,
does he just have to be home?
Yeah. Well, the way it works for Premier League, you have to have 8 homegrown players, and you can have 17 foreign players.
Right.
In Europe, 4 of those homegrown players have to be with the academy for 3 years. Right. So I didn't count, even though he was out on loan and registered. So I thought he might have, but no, he wasn't allowed. Right. So that's that. On your B list, It's not that simple. The reason that Gray and Birdvale can't go on the B list is because you have to be academy trained for 2 years to go on the B list, and you can have as many players as you like on the B list. So Spurs have probably got
where does Spence fall? Where does Spence fall in all this? Because he's not club trained, but he is homegrown, right? Is that how that? So, because I was thinking that for the European, what you could do is you could take Werner out, you can put Kinski in, and that's your European quota, and then you could replace Forster with Spence, and that would be your homegrown, and your numbers would still be right. But are you not allowed to do that?
You do your new list at the end of straight after this window in January. I think it's got to be virtually immediate. Whereas the summer transfer window, I think you're given a couple of weeks because it goes for like 11 weeks, 12 weeks, the summer transfer window, and it goes into the season, doesn't it? About season. So I think you're allowed.
But just from the point of view of the European squad, like I really wanted, like, are we going to have Forster and Austin until the end, or can we bring Kinski in?
Yeah, and if you bring Miani in, do you leave Richarlison out?
Right.
Because Richarlison's got to prove his fitness again, hasn't he? So, like, would you then say to Richie, well, look, mate, you've got to prove your fitness, or you're giving the signal at the moment we don't want you unless you smash it second half of the season.
Right. And I know it's one of these things everyone goes on about. Oh, well, you just need to get players. Like, you need to have this big team mentality. You've got to have a big squad mentality, and that's all well and good. But if you've got a fully fired up Solanke and you've got a Richarlison that you need to give game time to get back to match fitness, and then you add in a Kolo Muani who needs game time to get bedded into a squad that he needs to get to know. I mean, there's just so many parts to juggle there. Plus, you're not in a comfortable position in the league, so every point is valuable. It's not like we're sitting in fourth place with a cushion off fifth and we can all take a big breath and just let things play out. Like, we need to get things going. We need everybody kind of clicking and everybody running as soon as their feet touch the ground. So I just don't know. I don't know. As I say, that's why I'm sitting here talking to you, and I'm not a football manager, because it just boggles the mind how you put all those squares and all those circles in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, and when you've got a fit squad, it gets even more complicated because you can pick 11. You're allowed 9 subs. You can use 5 of them, and five don't make the match day squad. Right. So but you get injuries like us, and you realise how threadbare we are and how hard it is to pick up results.
Exactly. And the most, as I say, boys, the most important thing this year, I mean, I would absolutely love some silverware. I would love a cup. But the most important thing is getting back into Europe, because if we go back down to 41 games next year, that is going to put us so far behind where we need to be. It's all about consolidating and getting as far up the league as possible and trying to get that, get that Carabao Cup or get that FA Cup or the Europa League. One of them. We cannot not be in Europe next year.
Europa League, win that, and then go and win the Champions League next year.
There you go. That would be the ideal scenario, wouldn't it? But yeah,
and then everyone will want to come and play for us.
Right.
Yeah, it is quite complex. I mean, I can envisage a situation where, because players are running a lot more kilometres than they did years ago, I can see a situation where instead of using 5 subs on the bench, it will go up to 7, then eventually go up to all your subs on the bench. And although it's a bit more expensive for clubs, you can even see like rules changing maybe in Europe where squads are increased from 25 to 27, 28, 30 even. Because if this is going to come down to players' welfare, something's got to be done to correct this. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So let's move on to Tamworth. Let's get a banner up there. Okay, where are we?
I'm just going to run and get a drink quickly. You carry on. I can still hear you.
All right.
I know nothing of Tamworth.
Neither do I. Other than the fact that it's in Staffordshire, and I watched the video of their ground and all that, but it's just like you'd expect a a club ground to be looking like it's artificial pitch, which might be to their advantage. So let me go. Oh, here we go. Tamworth's predicted lineup, right? So we'll go through our injury woes. So Vicaro's out, Odegaard's still out. Davies, I won't be surprised if he's near in fitness. VDV and Romero will be back before the Liverpool game away. That's on the 6th, Thursday, the 6th of February. Then you've got Udogie should be back, like Romero. I think Richarlison's all fit already, but I think they say they wanted to give him the extra week before the Arsenal game. So he is virtually fit. And Bentancur, I've seen 12 days, 10 days and all that, but he may miss that amount. You might, because he misses a minimum of 6 days for the concussion. So I got that for Sky Sports Channel today. So providing they're right, don't trust Sky Sports, to be honest with you. But and then you're assessed, so before you can come back. So that's the injuries. Do you think Kinski stays in goal? I mean, Vicaro played every game last season, didn't he? Yeah.
Yep. But I think Kinski's in goal. I heard a rumor about the lineup that they've already picked it. Like it's a very young squad. But yeah, I believe Kinski will be in goal. I really want to see how he does. Again, it's Tamworth. Where are they? The League 2 team or something? Or
they're about tier 7.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So this very likely won't be much for Kinski, I guess, if it's that low. But he was phenomenal against Liverpool. And regardless of the fact that Liverpool really didn't do that much in the final third, he still did very well against what it arguably is the best team in Europe right now.
Yeah. I mean, there's a case for resting him, giving Austrian another game, or Forster. We both aren't the best kickers. Vicaro played every league game from his last season. I would play Kinski because he's still settling in, and it's a good game to play him in. You're not going to wear him out, are you? So
no, he's our minty fresh goalie, and he's just phenomenal. I think he I love his distribution. It makes me we went from Lloris to who couldn't. I thought his distribution was always so poor, to Vicario, who also I think struggles with distribution, and now to Kinski, who is very good at distribution, and it really does make such a difference. It's, as a spectator, it's a joy to watch.
Yeah. I think he was brave to play him. Like I said, I didn't pick him against Liverpool. I thought actually Austin would come in because I thought, bring a new player in. If it goes wrong, why'd you play him when Austin played so well? So that was a bold decision by Ange. And actually, I think he got his game management right. So when he's right, I'll critique him when he's wrong, but let's move on. I think this is the only choices we've got at fullback, unless of course Davis is fit.
I'd heard that it was going to be Spence and Reguilon.
Yeah, sorry.
I'd heard that it'll be. I think Reguilon plays on the left, right, and then have Spence on the right, and then rest Poro, and then you'd have Dragishin. Let's see, maybe Dragishin and Archie Gray or Dorrington. You could have Dorrington in there against Tamworth.
I think Ange hinted today about Dorrington going out on loan, which is no good him sitting on the bench and not getting no time unless he goes back to the under 21. And he needs to go out. Ashley Phillips is out as well. I mean, if you could rest one of these if Davis is fit, I mean, you could even then play Gray at right back. I mean, it only takes to bring back one or two players back, and the permutations are endless, aren't they, with the squad? When we get them all back, I'll struggle to get. We might get about 6 of them right because Ange a curveball in there, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think Davis must be nearly fit, but maybe not. Maybe he's had a setback. But he would have said about that. But so these Drew. So on these, would you give Reguilon a game here?
I think I would. Can you hear me, guys? All right?
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah. Okay. I think probably just for the fact that it's Tamworth, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but the fact that it's Tamworth, and for the fact that I think we should be looking, even though we need to try and get through, I think we should be looking at trying to give players rest. So Reguilon has got the most, I guess, even if he could do the first 60 minutes and just give Spence a little bit of a breather, I would be more than happy.
Would you rest Spence over Porro?
It's a tough one. I mean, it's a really tough one. What I'd really like to rest both of them, but obviously that's not an option. In an ideal world, I guess Reggie on the left for 90, and then Spence and Porro 45 minutes each.
You could rest Spence and Porro if Davis was fit, because you could play Gray at fullback and then play Davis alongside Dragerson. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm hoping Davis is fit because he gives us experience anyway, Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can't see it. I'd really like to see Dorrington, but I think I mentioned it to you, Adrian, last time, and I know people are itching to see the kid, and I am as well. But he's played like 270 minutes over 4 appearances, and I just think Ange is waiting for the right time to ease him in. I think the game against Liverpool, especially given how tight it was, I don't think he's willing to risk the last 10, 15 minutes to him. I'd like to think that hopefully, if we can get 2-3 goals up, he can give him 20, 30 minutes at the end of the second half or something like that and start to ease him in. I think Ange is very clever like that. Like, people gave him stick about, why haven't we seen Spence? Why haven't we seen Spence? And people seem to forget that he was carrying quite a significant groin injury for the most of the first part of the season. So, there is a reason that we don't see these players. So I don't know. Hopefully we see some Dorrington, but we'll have to wait. But it'd be ideal if Davis is fit, or he could give us 45 minutes. That would be ideal as well.
So, Alan, Maddison and Sarr were suspended, so you would expect them to return, wouldn't you? Yeah. So, would you play again or Basuma? I mean, the next game's the North London derby as well. I don't think Ange, us fans are more concerned about than Ange. I think he does really take each game at a time, because you haven't got much time to prepare really for games once every 3 days.
Yeah, and he's not afraid to play a player twice, one right after the other. So I don't think he's thinking too much about the North London derby. I don't think he's. Well, to be honest, where we're at in the league, it's more prestige than anything, for the 2 London clubs, than it is for any particular benefit for us to move up. So I would think that he's going to be concentrating, if anything, probably more on Tamworth, because he wants to continue. So I would sit Basuma, and I would play Sarr, and maybe again, if you play Maddison and Bergvall, I think I would probably have in the midfield, because I think Bentancur is out. Kulusevski, I think, needs a rest, and I think Tamworth is. If you can't rest Kulusevski for Tamworth, then there's just never going to be a chance for him to rest. So
I didn't put him on the list for that simple reason. He's got to be rested for the North London derby. In midfielder, Drew, I suppose it's got to be Basuma or Bergvall with these 2, I would have thought,
I think it could be Maddison, Sarr, Basuma, I think. Just because Bergvall played the full 90, didn't he, at Liverpool? So I just don't know that he's going to run that many minutes into his legs. So I'd say Maddison, Sarr, Basuma, I think. Yeah,
and Ange did say, they said, well, you rest players and all that. He said, well, I've got to go strong because I've got so few to pick for. Well, I think these lot up to the midfield shows that, because it's still a strong lineup what we picked here. it gets a bit more interesting with the strikers, guys. Right. So, I mean, I'm sort of saying like Kuseski, Son, Solanke to be rested. I think if Richie's ready for the Arsenal game, I think he starts this game, to be honest with you.
Really?
He's free. Yeah, what, Tamworth? He's an international player. You know, I mean, I would have thought if Richie, they said, oh, he needs a couple of weeks. We want to make sure he's proper fit so he doesn't get injured again. I think there's a lot of fans wouldn't care if he got injured again. You're being cruel to him. But, I mean, yeah. So,
do you think the artificial pitch plays a part based on him coming back from an injury? Like impact?
Yeah, and sprains and twist injuries, Yeah, so
I mean, if he can, that would be ideal. I don't know. Especially just coming back from an injury, there's not many players that come back from a significant injury and then play 90 minutes. I think he's going to have to play Solanke for a little bit, and I'm wondering whether. Do you think maybe?
Well, I'll give you the list. I'll give you the list now, right? Because we're pretty certain that Kulusevski and Son should be rested. Solanke plays out of desperation, really, right?
Right.
Okay, these are really the striker options. So there are options there. You could play Werner through the middle. He's done that before.
Yeah.
You can play Johnson through the middle.
Yeah.
You can play Mikey Moore anywhere in the front six, as far as I'm concerned. Lancashire Prestige, you could start him. I mean, he played him in Europe, so against Tamworth, I know he got sent off.
And he scored.
And he got sent off, right?
But and then he got sent off.
I think if Lancashire's always on the bench, when are you going to play him if it's not in Europe and or in a game like this?
Right. Yeah, I'll tell you what. Based on that, I'd go Lancashire. I'd go Moore on the left, Lancashire up top, and Johnson on the right.
And Johnson can play on the left as well. If I mean, imagine what Werner's pace would do at Tamworth.
Yeah.
I mean, so even if you went Werner Johnson, you want to win this game to start off with, because Mikey Moore's come back from illness. We don't know whether it's just flu, COVID, or whatever.
No.
But you could really go Werner Johnson here with Lancashire in the middle here. Give them a go. If you get 3 goals up, we all get to see Yang Min Hook. You know,
Yep.
so that would be good, and Richie can be rested for the Arsenal game. You know.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
But I mean, trying to out-select Ange when he'll throw. I mean, he's played more young players than I've known any manager play at this football club. You know, and giving them game time. When I say other managers giving players game time when they're kids, the only time you usually find that happens when they've got, horrific injury list and they're forced to play them. Otherwise, they don't do it because every point is so precious in this league. This is the yellow card watch. VD4. Well, he should be. He should
be safe, right?
Yeah, you're worried about these getting 10. Because if you pick up 10 yellow cards before the 32nd game, then you get a 2-match ban.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm not sure about these League Cup yellow cards being conflated with yellow cards you pick up in the league. I think they are, because it's a league competition.
Right.
So Bentancur, was it Basum? I don't know, but these last two I'm not sure about if I've got this right, but we got Bergvall picked up one. He's on through. I'm going to have to really go and do this, but this is just a rough schematic because,
Yeah, I mean, I would like to think that anybody out there at the moment, I mean, if you're going to pick up a yellow card, at least let it be for something where we can all turn around and go, all right, fair enough. Do you know what I mean? I don't think anyone can be stupid. I don't want any petulance, like, the
dissent you don't want.
Yeah, dissent.
Taking your shirt off when you score a goal.
Yeah, the Bentancur in the last couple of minutes.
Stimulation as well.
Yeah, that sort of stuff. So if it's for one where I can say, they're going to go through on goal and you take one for the team, then fair enough. But yeah, stop with the petulance, man.
So these are our January fixtures. The first week in February, obviously the 6th of Thursday, we play Liverpool in the second leg. So we get Tamworth 12:30 kickoff Sunday. A midweek game against Arsenal. You know, they're always weird when they're midweek. You think these games would always be fixed so they're on a Saturday and Sunday, 8 o'clock. Then we get Everton away. Well, with Everton, we've beaten Everton more times than the other team in the Premier League, 31 times. I think
they sacked Sean Dyche, so we'll see if they get like a new manager bounce.
I think they'll get Moyes back. I think they'll get David Moyes back.
Mm.
Yeah. So Everton, the team we've beaten the most. After that, it's actually Man City with 28, and then it's West Ham with 27, and then we see how the players are coming back for Hoffenheim away. They're really right down the bottom of this Europa League, and then Leicester City at home. We normally beat them at home, and then we got, let's say, Elfsborg. Hoffenheim away, Leicester at home, then Elfsborg at home. So if we can get something for Arsenal, suddenly we'll start believing we've got round the corner. We're going to beat Tamworth, right? But it's just this away game at the empty crate stadium, you know, or the Emerald Stadium, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
It would be the Spursy thing to do to get a replay.
Yeah, these fixtures don't seem so tough now. Going back, even when the results weren't going away, I think fans need to consider like the teams we beat that are rated. We draw with Ipswich and we lose to Newcastle, a rated team. But like we beat Villa, we beat Man United twice, we beat Man City twice. We've now beaten Liverpool. You know, and prior to those teams, we beat West Ham and Everton, thrashed them. Like. And you just think, like, why are we 12th or whatever it is we are? Yeah, there's too much quality in this squad for us to stay where we are. So we will.
Yeah. And even Arsenal, that, you know, I'm not as concerned with Arsenal as I was last season. Last season, they were, I think, a much more dangerous team than they are this season. This season, they've just been like set play FC, you know, the set pieces FC. Because they're all about their corners. You really are all about their corners. Saka is injured. They're just not the team they were last year, even.
Yeah.
So I'm not as worried as I would be as if it was last year. This is definitely a doable schedule. You know, we could come away with the majority of the points.
Mm. Well, we're going to beat Elfsborg and Hoffenheim and Tamworth. That's 3. Every game in the Premier League's hard, even if you've got good records against clubs like Everton and even Leicester. You know, Arsenal, the fixture are the one that are concerned. We should have won last year. I mean, we scored 2 good open play goals, and their 2 goals, one was a penalty, one was a deflection. We should have won that game. Johnson had 2 half chances in that.
If we get 7 points from Everton, Leicester, and Arsenal, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, we'd all take a point at Highbury, Emirates rather, not Highbury. We'd all take a point there, wouldn't we?
Yeah, all day long. Although, yeah, like you say, Alan, they're kind of in. I don't know. I was watching some Arsenal TV and Football Terrace after the Newcastle match, and I mean, for a team that are sitting, second or third, that are still in most competitions, I mean, they are in absolute meltdown. I thought we were bad. But, yeah, they are just then not happy with that lot down there.
No.
Well, this is the link to Jim's show that he was on earlier, and he's like you guys, he's a well-informed Spurs guy. Love watching his shows and that. Those watching us on playback and that, just go and subscribe to this guy and give him a thumbs up. He's a really good guy. Then we have Alan's here. Team Tottenham Go. Alan, go and subscribe to his channel. Listen to him when he does his rants. His little rants on the do his rants. I've seen a few of them. Yeah, it's good. And I want to thank everyone in the chat who's been with us and viewers. I know tonight we're competing with a lot of shows because it's Tamworth, the weekend, and people are doing and it's the transfer window as well. So views have been better, but they'll pick up because we like to think we're a quality show and we bring you quality content. And for those that don't know, who might be viewing us on on playback. Our shows go every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday at 8 o'clock. And if you like the content, please give the videos a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And I want to thank my guests for coming on. Thank Jim, thank Alan, thank Drusilla.
Anytime.
And I'm going to find it. And I will play you out with this and see you guys in the back room.
Spurs